thank everyone for being here, for joining us in prayer and worship, for my father and for our family. Ken Cluley was born July 22nd, 1928 in Rosebush, Michigan, to Ed and James Cluley. He had a sister Mary and a brother Bob, both who left this world before him. He attended high school in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, where he and brother Rob were star baseball players. In 1948, he signed a contract to play baseball in the Longhorn League in Texas. While playing ball, he met Olympia's girl, a true beauty and a restless world, who became his wonderful bride, Weaver Cluley. They married in 1949, 63 years ago. Daddy continued playing baseball through the 1954 season, where statistics showed that he carried a 360 batting average. He hit 14 home runs, had 33 doubles, and 167 hits. Despite the fact that Daddy was a humble man, he would want you to know that. He had a deep sense of pride when it came to his baseball. He wasn't ready to leave baseball, but he had a greater priority, which he quietly carried out. He left baseball to raise a family. Mom and Dad moved to Wichita Falls, where they would raise their 6 boys, send them to Catholic school, and bring them up in the Catholic Church. Mom and Dad were both converts to Catholicism and were committed to this. Upon moving to Wichita Falls, Daddy took a job with Tasty Bread as a hot salesman. And according to him, he took that one until he could find something better. 35 years later, he retired. Then went to work for August Pie Company, doing really the same thing. He did that for several years, retired again, and frankly, I hired him to come out of Mo to be our maintenance man at the retirement of Gerald Wilson. And at the same time, he drove the school bus, which was very important because many times he was driving his grandkids to ball games and then getting to sit there. And it meant the world to him. Back when we were young, Daddy would get off his bread truck at lunchtime and play ball with us, whether it was baseball in the street or football in the street or whatever we were doing. Daddy smelled like freshly baked bread and cigar smoke. It's a smell we'll never forget. For him, there was nothing like spending time playing ball with his boys. I remember him playing fast pitch softball many years ago and watching him hit a home run in Stockton Park. I was so proud watching my dad on the bases. After the game, he told me the pitch and the count, what the pitcher was thinking. Daddy always knew these things. One of the things Daddy enjoyed most was playing slow pitch softball with us and our friends. This was very dear to him. Now, we didn't just play. We were the church league champions for several years. He would want you to know that. There was a game when he was playing right field, and an unsuspecting base runner thought he would take an extra base on the old guy in the outfield. Daddy charged the ball, threw a strike to third base, where the runner was out by a long shot. When the runner looked out to right field, Daddy was already jogging back to his position. He knew the guy was out when he threw the ball. Daddy talked about our greatest triumph as a softball team at Heights of Columbus tournament in 1984. We got beat early in the tournament, and it being a 64-team tournament, we spent all day Saturday playing one game after another. We finally got back to the team that was undefeated, and of course had to beat them twice to win the tournament. But we spanked them pretty good in the first game, and got them a little bit later, and then won the tournament in the second game. I don't know how he did it. He was in his mid-50s. It was 90 degrees outside. And we played over 8 games that day. He loved playing. That's the only answer. In later years, he enjoyed retirement. Was happy reading the paper on the drive with a cup of coffee, or mashing garlic in the down to help Mama prepare a meal. And if your house needed fixing, you called Dad. He knew how to do everything. He was a carpenter and a plumber, and an auto mechanic and an electrician. But he also, at a very young age, got a chance to hone his skills playing pool. And Kenny tells the story of having practiced and gotten pretty good himself. he asked Daddy to come to the pool hall where he could play against, where they would play against each other. After a few minutes of gaining his form, Daddy proceeded to move around the table, chalking his cue, making shots, setting up his next shot all the while whistling, and nonchalant as he was with all of his times. Kenny lost, Dad won. He was so good, he was good at so many things. Daddy loved poring over maps and atlases, and he loved to drive. Kenny was taking Aaron to Baltimore, and he shared his itinerary with Daddy. He told Daddy they were going to spend the night in Raleigh, Missouri. When Daddy called the next morning and found out where they were, he curtly said he didn't stay at home. He knew. And we all knew that if you were anywhere in the Metroplex and lost, don't turn the GPS and call out the time, just call Daddy. He could tell you where you were and where you needed to go. Now, Daddy hated umpires, except for George Stephen. He hated managers making bad moves in the game, and he hated players making stupid plays. He just had no tolerance for it. Jerry told me the story of one of Michael's softball games, where a pitch got by the catcher and hit the umpire in the leg. The umpire was in great pain and was limping, hopping on one leg. Jerry was feeling sorry for the umpire when Daddy sarcastically said, "My God, do you think we're going to have to call an ambulance?" Again, there was little sympathy if you were the umpire. And if the Rangers were losing, he would go sit out in the yard out of frustration. And he'd wait to see if John across the street would turn on the porch light. That was the signal that the Rangers had won the game. Daddy was a wizard with working crossword puzzles. On occasion, he'd get stumped. He'd turn to Mama. And if she knew the answer, she'd give me kind of a sly glance, answer it for him, just to let me know that she was really as good or better than me. And she was better. Ken Cluley loves humor and laughing. I can see him laughing and slapping his knee. He had a big heart to laugh. He also liked practical jokes. One of his practical jokes was to put a Clinton sticker over the top of the Bush sticker on a certain person's car who worked at United. He did this weekly for quite some time. Now, he had helped with this at times, but it's probably not my place to say who helped. And to this day, I'm not sure the victim knows who was doing it, but he might be here and figure it out. Now, there were a couple of more elaborate schemes and real practical jokes that Daddy dreamed up and then executed. One was, and I can't tell you what you want, but one is the story of Esther Green, or the one where he and Mama both, with the help of a certain clergyman, pulled off one concerning the auxiliary bishop of Chicago. When Mom was wincing. In fact, that involved two clergymen. You'll have to talk to Monsignor Olson or Mama about that afterward to get the real story. Daddy loved telling stories. He loved telling the story of Pointer and a guy he called the Skunk. And he loved her telling about a certain pinochle game with Mr. Day. And I witnessed that. But although Daddy loved telling these stories, it wasn't due to him getting old and forgetful. Daddy was sharp until the very end. I heard his sarcasm last week when a therapist came into his room on Tuesday and began doing reflex tests, asking him questions. After a patient going through the exercise, he told her he thought that he was back in kindergarten, letting her know he had enough. It's time for her. Now, Daddy nicknamed the grandchildren, all 21 of them, from Mandel to Zoser to Kirkland and Charlie Gibbons. And some of those we still don't understand their name. But Daddy gave a nickname to each one. If you were at the Roseville last night, they stood as their nickname was called. He even gave a nickname to some of his nieces. I think Injun is here. He loved her dearly. Anyway, 5 years ago, he was diagnosed with colon cancer. We were all scared and upset. There was crying and very little sleep thinking about what this might mean. The next day we found out that Daddy had left the doctor's office, gone to the casino, came home, slept a solid 8 hours. Daddy was a rock. He didn't let the little thing do it. Ken Cluley loved to play cards. Gin rummy with Teresa. sweetly and more often with my youngest brother, John. If you wanted to walk away from a card table with a small fortune, you better bring a large one. But as frugal as Daddy was playing the game that he enjoyed more than one guy told Daddy, "I hope you appreciate you putting your kids through Catholic school." And another one said to us, "Never get into political with your dad." This was the only part of his life that Daddy would be considered overbearing. The grandkids learned to play the hard way. They lost. Mom would tell him to let them win, and he would answer with what for. In one game, a grandson had a couple of aces in the first round of Texas Hold'em. When he bet big, he scared everybody out of the game. Everybody folded. His papa told him that life, suck everybody in and go for the kill. Now, Daddy was a farm boy from Michigan, but he had a worldview and an attitude towards life that was bigger than life. He never missed it. He talked to everyone. But he had a unique ability and a love in his heart that he never judged. And this seemed, it was so natural. I don't think he worked that hard. It was just a part of it. Race, creed, color, anything else that separated someone to be discriminated against, he never did. It didn't exist. He was accepting of people as they were and loving as he was. My father died on April the 4th, the same day as Martin Luther King. I think that's perfect. Now Daddy is telling stories of Uncle Jimmy and Aunt Helen. Jimmy's talking about the legendary Dean ability to hold the rest of the Klondike River. Daddy's talking about Pointer Red the Stumpy. And Aunt Helen's a little moved. She can't figure out how this meat and slurp those meat together. We miss them dearly, but no one misses them like the wonderful lady sitting in front of our mom. We're told how important it is to tell our loved ones that we love them. Daddy wasn't comfortable expressing himself with words. In fact, he never did. To walk in the house and see his face bright and smile with his loving blue eyes was more than words could ever say. He told us of his great love for us with his smile, his easy laughter, his interest in our lives, thousands of times. We treasure that. Father Anthony Chandler left a voice message